Hey guys, welcome to episode 6 of the weekly. And sorry for the late start. As you would expect, Hangouts has issues. And can somebody put their phone on silent, please? Thank you very much.
I don't know. Whose phone was it? I think it was my phone. Let's see.
Of course, it was your phone.
No, it wasn't my phone.
All right. Now, of course, you have the usual cast of characters. Starting off with Mr. Juan back now from Pocket Now. How's it going, man?
Going pretty good. Hangouts was not recognizing my webcam, so right now I am reopening all of my browser tabs so I can see our show notes.
Oh, that sucks.
Okay.
Yeah.
And next up is Mr. Black Iron _man Sam. How's it going, man?
I'm fine, thank you.
All right, cool. And finally, Mr. Warren Bowman from BW1.com.
What's going on? I have no idea where the live chat is.
I'll just send it to you guys. It hasn't even started. I'm looking at the live chat. It still hasn't even started there.
Hangouts is the uselessness of the day.
Yes, so we can start the uselessness of the week with Google Hangouts. As you can see,
the day. We can see this one is for the day.
For the day. But let's go on to our uselessness of the week. And this involves PewDiePie, the whole drama, everything they involved. I'm sure you guys know the story quite well. PewDiePie was dropped by Disney and I think is it Maker Studios, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, Google.
Yeah.
Google as well dropped them.
They own Maker Studios.
Well, Disney owns Maker Studios, and then Google also dropped them from that like Premiere Performer tab. You know, when you go in and you see like what's trending and stuff, they can also show you like these are the biggest YouTube stars that you can advertise on their channels. And
so he's still on YouTube. He hasn't been kicked off. He's just not one of their preferred content providers anymore.
Yeah, I know it's still not live, Warren. It's just the way it is. So yeah, we're not live yet, but we are live.
Oh boy, this is weird.
I have no idea, but anyway, so the whole thing stems from the fact that Mr. PewDiePie, we are live now. Mr. PewDiePie made a video, and this video had some anti-Semitic undertones in terms of jokes, you could say. Now he's come out to defend himself. I haven't watched that video. I know you have, Sam, and I've seen people who have gone and backtracked and defended him. Also, people who like what's the guy's name again? Is it Rich?
Review Tech USA.
Review Tech USA, who dissed him before and then came back and apologized.
I think what he said was too much of a diss to begin with. I think people just are usual oversensitive, but
since I haven't watched anything fully, I've just seen the news bits. This is where I say you apply common sense. There are certain things if you want to show.
Whoa. Aren't you going to get to your panelist's opinion first before you apply your own? That's how it's supposed to go. 101.
No, this is me first, and then you all can jump in.
Oh man. He just said his opinion is worth more than ours.
I mean, okay.
Full stop.
All right.
No, go ahead. You can start up. Start up. Go ahead.
No, my thing is this, listening to Review Tech USA, he said, look, he was trying to show what people would do for money, like in Fiverr. I get that, but there are other types of jokes you can pull that are not sensitive. Again, considering you're not a comedian, that to me, that's how I look at it. There's just a level of common sense you can apply and still get the same message out there, especially since you have a large audience. You don't have to be aggressive on a certain way, if you're that big. So that's just where my own little common sense comes in. I'll throw it out to the panel. Juan, you want to kick it off? No, I said Juan, not Warren.
Let Warren actually go ahead and jump in, man, because I'm still kind of chewing my way through this.
Okay, so we all know the video he did. He made some sort of anti-Semitic remarks, among some other things as well too, and they were done technically in a way that it was kind of making fun of himself in the way the media portrays him a certain way. And they were supposed to be sort of done in jest, sort of done in clowning and things of that nature. The same thing with the Fiverr deal, which is supposed to see what people will do on Fiverr and whatnot, just to kind of make jokes and stuff. Now, the problem is that when you do things like this, and you are the size of who you are, or if you're of a notability and there's some controversy to it, you're going to have media sites and other places look for flaws or look for things to be able to take you down or be able to ding you or be able to create news. The Wall Street Journal completely created this post about him that truthfully lacked all the context behind it, but you set yourself up for those things when you do things like this. You take all the context away. Wall Street Journal makes the article, and then you just get caught up in it. And while their article was kind of completely wrong and out of context, it still is a dumb idea to do any of these type of things anyways, because in the end of the day, it's business. And regardless of if it's a joke or if it's, you know, meant to be funny or satire, doesn't matter. You're a business, and business is 101. If it looks bad, if they can't brand it, or if they look like it's something that's going to damage your image, they're going to drop you because they're not going to waste money and they're not going to lose money on that whole scenario. I think he in some ways should have just thought a little bit better about it, especially when you have places like, you know, you have news sites that look to just make, you know, spin a story a certain way, leave the context out and just start some controversy, and you set yourself up perfectly for that. So, you know, I understand it was supposed to be all jokes, but there are way better jokes to make than the jokes that he made in that particular context, and better jokes to make that are not going to damage your branding, especially in light that a business isn't going to want to do business with you if you're doing these sort of things online. It's just pure foolishness, and it kind of shows how much YouTubers and a lot of internet stars still need to learn how business works. They still kind of don't fully get it.
Sam?
Totally disagree, man. I just totally disagree with you, Warren.
I'm waiting for you to say the word. I'm waiting for you to say it.
Dude, what he did, while not overtly anti-Semitic, because it's couched in a joke, so I'm not going to say it's overtly, it was still very, very anti-Semitic. It was still no, wait, let me finish. I'll let you do your stuff. Let me chime in here.
But I have the gavel.
He was targeting a certain demographic. You don't do things like this and put it online if you don't want a certain type of person to watch it. Okay? I'm sorry. He might have couched it as a joke, but it was very much anti-Semitic.
But I don't think you're disagreeing with me though, Sam. That's the thing, because I didn't say
it's about business. People should be smarter. People took it out of context. No, it was
I'm saying
he was being anti-Semitic.
He was giving him the benefit of the doubt that he might have been taking it out of context.
Yeah,
he really didn't comment on the content.
No, what I'm morally saying is that in his mind, what he was doing something that was joke. Oh, I believe it's anti-Semitic as hell, and that's what the hell he was putting out there. It was absolutely insulting and really dumb. But in his mind, he thought he was doing one thing. I'm not saying I agree with in his mind.
In his mind, he knew exactly who his target audience was. You don't do a video like that.
I don't think so.
Why would you do a video like that if you don't think certain people are going to watch?
I think he thinks it's targeted.
He did the video for himself.
Yeah, we also talked.
Actually, yeah.
YouTuber, you understand? These people are addicted to the likes and the thumbs up, dude.
Exactly. He's addicted to the likes and the thumbs up, so he did it for people to like and thumb up.
Yeah, but in his mind, he's rationalizing it completely differently.
He can rationalize it all the way he wants, but the simple thing is this: he did it for the likes and the thumbs up. And the fact of the matter is, you make a video for certain demographics, people can come out and call you exactly what you are, and that's exactly what he did.
I think the only demographic he cares about is people who will watch PewDiePie videos. I don't think any more design than that, and I think that's what burned him.
Nah, I think Wall Street Journal was very right. He went out.
No, they weren't, because they left all the context out of what he went doing.
He went out with a certain intent, and you can't cry context when you make content and put it out there.
No, this is something that I think has become endemic with because I'm kind of somewhere in between the two of you. I'm not surprised that I'm somewhere in between the two of you guys right now, where there's always been something problematic with YouTube personalities and performers where there's such limited scope when it's a team of only a couple people, or maybe it's one person. PewDiePie might not be working with anyone else that can tell him, hey man, I don't think that's a good idea. But where you get to a point where you kind of exhaust all of your lowest common denominator content. Look at prank channels. You know, prank channels went from like, oh yeah, we're totally doing these pranks in real life, just like those TV shows did. And then they all got called out for being fake. And then it was like, oh no, it was a social experiment. That's what we're doing. Yeah. And then that got called out for being fake. And now a bunch of them has shifted over into, no, we're instructional. So we're not really doing these pranks. We're showing you how you can do these pranks. I mean, and like they're literally scraping the bottom of the barrel. So PewDiePie came from being like a wacky game streamer, and then started doing these sort of bizarre performance art pieces that he was calling comedy. And I think, you know, to Warren's credit, I agree with this sentiment that what do you do when you run out of ideas? You start pushing into edgier and edgier territory. And that's where he can hide behind statements like, you know, this is taken out of context, or I was trying to do a social experiment on people would do for $5. There are plenty of things that you can get people to do ridiculous things for $5. But what's really going to be incendiary and really out there so that people will know that I'm really pushing the envelope? I know Nazis are hot talking points again. So let me use that. Now, why does the brain go in that direction? Well, maybe there is some kind of latent institutionalized anti-Semitism there. I don't know. I've never spoken to him. And I think I've watched exactly 4 of his videos, 2 of them related to this situation. So whether or not it's overt, again, if we're going to question motive, I do not believe, Sam, that it was completely overt. I think it was the result of a chain of bad decision making that led him to a point where we're looking at someone who is trying to do internet content, probably isn't that creative. I mean, when we really break down what it is that he provides his audience, and was preaching and tried to land something that was far outside of his ability to properly satirize. And so that's why I think we find ourselves here.
So what he was, I'm not saying he did anything overtly. I am still saying content he put out there is very much anti-Semitic. And no, we all agree there. And the fact that he created it, and he basically put it out there. It was done to attract a certain kind of viewer.
And that's where that's fine.
That's what we can disagree.
But absolutely disagree there.
But here's the thing where the context isn't key. Where I think he's really dumb at trying to do what he was attempting to do. When he made that comment, or made those Fiverr guys do that sign or whatever, it actually was a way. If he said one thing, then there was another sign that was supposed to be mentioned by what's that YouTuber's name, Keemstar or something like that. He was sort of trying to attack Keemstar essentially with the whole thing, and that's where he was trying to go. But that's where I'm saying where Wall Street.
No, I'm sorry. When he sat down and listened to Hitler's speech the first time was what? That was making a social statement.
No, and that was actually
when he wore a military-style uniform while listening to it again. Was what?
You know the context behind that.
You could call things a joke.
I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it's. I'm not saying it's
satire.
Well, Sam, you're thinking I'm trying to justify it. I'm just trying to make sure you understand the context of which is behind before you're accusing somebody of something serious as being truthfully anti-Semitic, dude. That.
Oh, sorry, my bad. I already said my point earlier. It's stupid. As a whole, it's stupidity beyond belief. There's a reason why the Colonel isn't back, because
why is he on Fiverr? That's not on Fiverr.
Why is he on Fiverr? Warren, let me put it this way. Warren, I totally understand where you're coming from. You're coming from the whole the point of view that his intent was not to offend anyone. But the content.
No, I think his intent was to offend. I don't think his intent was to make an overt reach to an alt-right demographic.
Yeah,
do not believe. I believe his intent was to shock people that do watch PewDiePie videos.
Okay.
Now that video that Wall Street Journal made was completely targeting against people that are against against the alt-right and trying to trigger them as such, because they took the context out of everything that there was there with it. That's the thing that I'm trying to say. I'm not saying that he is right and justify what he's doing. No, you're an idiot, dude. You should think ahead of time, because somebody chopped this up and made me look a certain way, dumbass. I mean, it's just kind of obvious to do if you're thinking with a right brain, but he wasn't when he was making it. So he got caught up in a situation that could have easily been prevented by just not doing it. But I'm not going to let Wall Street Journal off the hook for leaving out context out of something like that because they were trying to make a inflammatory piece. No, they're not doing their journalistic job in doing so.
Maybe for some people,
what the hell are they reporting on?
Yeah. PewDiePie because it is relevant. Because the people who back him are multi-billion dollar organizations. Okay, right. So let's be very straightforward.
And again, he is the biggest
Journal
YouTuber.
If anyone else,
they weren't. They no, it could have been anyone else, and the same thing would have happened, and it actually probably would have been worse, because it would have been worse. And actually, if somebody else would have done it, they'd have probably included the context with it. Sadly enough.
But the thing is, at the end of the day, is this: he lobbed up a nice volley for everyone to smack him down on.
Yep,
that's what he did. And again, like, iMike says, the bottom line is responsibilities needs to be taken and common sense needs to be used. When I saw part of his apology, I stopped, because it wasn't an apology. It was stupidity again.
No, it was an indictment of the media, but this is also why the media has been so hard on him.
Yeah.
Some of his points are legitimate. The idea
win
that
this fight right now with what he's trying to do against the media. You got to eat your L.
Yeah,
and
come out with a real apology.
Well, what's frustrating is he's become a mouthpiece for people who create their own online content who aren't backed by major studios, and this is going to serve as evidence to organizations and to outlets and to people looking to advertise that, oh, no, I mean, like, you could go with this PewDiePie guy, or you know what, NBC Universal is going to be putting out a web series. Maybe you should just advertise there. It's on the internet, and the kids love the internet.
Yeah, you have no control about what kind of comments people on YouTube are going to put in there, what skew they're going to have. They might be this, they might be that. You don't want that. Come to the media. We're professionals,
right? But then also to the flip side of that, this is also, because I don't completely agree with some of the piling on, like when you've got individuals like J.K. Rowling out there trying to make an example out of this kid. Yeah. That's pretty hardcore. But she made one really great reply to someone who was saying, well, it's just satire. It's just satire. And no one's been able to answer this, but what is he satirizing?
Exactly.
Yep.
I'm willing to entertain this argument. Let's call it satire. What is the target and what is his commentary on it? If the commentary is just, ha, 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 poor people will do anything for $5, then I feel the more of this is deserved than maybe even his anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
Maybe his classism is the bigger issue here.
Ethnocentrism, maybe.
That too, exactly.
What did I miss?
No, just pile it on these. The main thing is this.
He's an idiot, but yeah.
I mean, okay, you know how we had those discussions about MCNs and managing, right? This is where you, like I said, you manage your L, you eat up your L. They have ways to handle this where you can say, look, you know what? I was aiming for this. I realized that I didn't hit the mark. I made a mistake. I offended people. I'm sorry, because I was not trying to offend people. There's a very simple way of just apologizing. I'm not trying to attack people. I was looking to create this, but I went away with it. Now, yes, the media could have taken out of context, but that is called life as we live it now.
Especially when you're playing at that with that kind of spotlight.
So you have to accept that, yes, I've made a mistake.
Well, if he came up with a real apology, and then in that same video said, these are the things I felt the media took out of context. I'm not saying that these are right, but I want to give you the facts on what happened, and you make your own judgment accordingly. Would have been a way better video to go with, other than the media's attacking me and I'm crying. Dude, no one's gonna give. That's the equivalent of LeBron complaining about not having a superstar on his team.
Well, so here's the thing.
The equivalent of that. No one's gonna care.
The one thing I will give him is look at the media climate that we're in. You know, when it comes to politics, when it comes to religion. I think his apology does one thing very well, and that's shore up his base. The people that were already going to forgive him for any transgressions. You know, he could go out there and stomp on a puppy, and people who would still like PewDiePie videos. This is a move that emboldens them, right?
Yeah.
Whether or not it helps transition and cross over into anyone else who might be receptive to this kind of message, I find dubious at best.
Yeah. All right, the thing that stood out for me during the whole thing is when he says, "Oh, there are hundreds of people that put this together, and by attacking him, you're basically, in essence, putting those people out of work." And in my head, I'm going, that means there were hundreds of people that should have told you what you were doing was kind of stupid.
Well, and then also those are hundreds of people that you should be looking at for their job. You know,
exactly.
When the writer's strike was going on, Conan O'Brien was paying out paychecks. How are you looking out for the people that support you? And if that's, you know, you're not, then this is also just another example of narcissism.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of narcissism, Verizon brought back its unlimited plans. I know it's not narcissism, but
that was the best segue.
Speaking of narcissism, let's go to something that has nothing whatsoever to do with narcissism.
I don't know. It's Verizon. You can always link narcissism in Verizon.
So Verizon's brought back its unlimited plans. AT&T counted their unlimited plans, so unlimited plans are back now. Yeah.
Which is to show you how basically one actor
T-Mobile
in this industry can basically change not just T-Mobile, but the fact that T-Mobile had unlimited. Did everyone go unlimited?
No.
Verizon comes out and goes unlimited.
Verizon's technically the last one in the game that went unlimited. You got to remember, T-Mobile went unlimited first, and then Sprint, and then AT&T, but they tied into the DirecTV. You had to get to do it, and then Verizon came out with their unlimited plan, and everyone else changed their plans to compete in that. Verizon.
True unlimited.
So I haven't taken a good look at the plan.
That's what I'm saying. True unlimited.
Any thoughts on Verizon's limited plan and how it fares? Because I know I've heard
the fine print on this is very positive.
Yeah,
$80 a month, all you can eat, and the throttle cap is 22 gigs, so it's just behind T-Mobile.
Throttled if you're in a congested area. So if you're at home somewhere outside of the city and you're using LTE, they're not gonna. If you're over 22 gigs, they're not gonna throttle you down. But if you're in the city somewhere, they might throttle you down to 3G speeds at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, but it'll be left to see in practice, basically. But I think the really great thing about it is the pricing. The pricing makes it very competitive. It's like $80 for one line, like $70 for two, and I forgot what three is, but 4 lines is like $45 a line. So if you're a family, if you're a family of 4, that's amazing, or more, I guess. That's amazing for you. $45 a line for unlimited.
I mean, they forced T-Mobile to change their streaming to 720p now.
Yep.
Just like that. From 480 to 720.
I'm telling you, man, one actor can change everything.
Yeah. So that was pretty good.
What was really fascinating here, and because I've not really been the biggest fan of Verizon policy over the last couple of years, but to see all of these upstarts, they're sort of pushing competition. T-Mobile's acting as a market disruptor, and it took Verizon one move. It took Verizon one move to reset all. I mean, that's really like when you can exercise your position as the market leader, then this is exactly why we still need to have strong competition in the market.
I mean, and this is why we still have companies like T-Mobile. I'm not saying, I'm saying one actor can change everything.
Yeah,
because Verizon did this and changed a lot.
But Verizon never would have done this had they not been responding.
They saw the
core of this change.
Now what we should properly do is rag on Verizon for switching up, because up until 2 weeks ago, they were still throwing out ads out there about
no.
Need an unlimited data plan.
The day the announcement hit, they were still running the ad like, all you need is 5 gigs. Most people don't ever use half that much. You're like, what?
But ridiculous. You know what I think? Happened, and I think this is basically connected to our next story. I think Verizon probably heard that SoftBank is actually talking, or might be talking, to T-Mobile, and Verizon's like, oh snap, we might have actual competition.
It's also the problem is that they saw their subscriber growth drop consistently over the last 6 quarters or something like that. It finally hit their bottom line of like, oh, we have to compete now. We have the best network isn't going to work anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Now, speaking of T-Mobile and Sprint merger, SoftBank is looking to push that again. And this time they are willing to loosen some control so that can happen, which most likely means T-Mobile CEO will come out as the CEO of,
it just means Sprint will go away.
Whatever this company is, and
Sprint will go away.
Exactly.
That's what's going to happen. Sprint will go away.
Yeah. If you remember back in 2013 when SoftBank bought Sprint, the conversation before that was SoftBank going to buy T-Mobile? Yeah. T-Mobile was the target to begin with. Okay, Sprint was basically, I'm sorry to say this, but the ugly stepsister, and T-Mobile was Cinderella.
That's so wrong.
So they backed off. They backed off for a little bit. Now Cinderella's available again because Sprint screwed up, and SoftBank is moving in. I'm just saying, SoftBank is might finally get the girl ready to go to the dance with.
Well, the Dish Telecom want to finally sell this thing because they were trying to sell this to AT&T, couldn't do it, and then they just kind of made this push, and now they're they're kind of the darlings. I'm wondering if they're.
I don't think
they got a U.S. presence. I think they might just kind of.
I don't think they'll sell. If they have this merger go through, you have a larger stake in the U.S. market. Right?
Wouldn't they be bigger than AT&T if they merge?
I think they'd be roughly the same.
Roughly the same size. Yeah,
I thought they would be bigger because
I think. Actually, I think
a lot of subscribers recently.
I think they technically would be bigger if you count the Metro PCS folks into that category.
But the only issue there is going to be the transition is going to be kind of an ugly one. You still have a lot of junk at Sprint from when they still haven't fully cleaned out their
EVDO and BS.
There's TMA towers. So if Sprint, well, actually, no, I think Nextel is finally
Nextel is closed down.
Yeah, I think they finally shut all that down. But I mean, like at one point, Sprint was running something like 7 different wireless technologies that all did the same thing.
Well,
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I can't say too much because I spent time in Qualcomm talking about 5G, and since T-Mobile also talked about moving to 5G, I think it might be easier coming towards that whole expansion forward where. I'm trying to see stuff that I can't say that it would just make it easier. It would be an easier process than it was before in the past. I would say.
Oh no, I mean once they're looking at evolving, what I mean is the legacy situation is going to be a long slog.
Yeah, the CMA stuff. Yeah. Oh, that's true. All right,
we'll see how the deal goes. I don't.
Yeah, that's if it happens.
So you guys know I get cranky whenever there's a merger, but if it's Sprint and T-Mobile, I feel a little less.
No. Would you?
Almost no way that happens. That it isn't just all magenta at the end of the.
No, totally. I think it's all magenta. But do you think there will still be a spinoff of some of the smaller companies away from them? Because
that would have to be part of the FCC.
Because you have to Metro and whatever Sprint's
Virgin. No, they still have to. Those are MVNO agreements.
Okay,
are different. Those are a little.
But then Metro would have to split off.
Yeah.
No. Metro's technically an MVNO.
It's not part of. It's technically not part of Sprint or T-Mobile.
It's not part of.
I thought it's still fully owned by them though.
I think, but it's like
work as
it's like a.
They bought Metro PCS.
I think they operate as a separate company.
It doesn't matter as long as they own it. They have to cut ties.
They won't have to cut ties. I doubt it.
So as of 20, go ahead, man. Sorry.
I would tell AT&T you have to cut Cricket, and then you then tell Sprint to cut Virgin Mobile and all the stuff out of the picture too. And
I mean cut ownership. You can still have them as an MVNO partner, but cut full ownership, or maybe reduce the percentage of ownership in there, or something like that. To that effect. All right.
I was just gonna say, basically, looking at the numbers, so. AT&T right now has 131 million subscribers, with T-Mobile at 67 and Sprint at 58.
Okay,
so it's going to be very close.
All right, moving on to Samsung and some more bad news. Samsung's CEO or chairman, was arrested for bribery charges. We all know there's been a lot of corruption charges in Korea with the president stepping down, and I think he's going through impeachment right now. She's going through impeachment. And then Samsung CEO was investigated. Now he's been arrested. The question to you guys is, how will this affect Samsung, especially now that it's close to, it's close to announcement of the S8. S8 is going to be announced next month in March. What do you guys think? How do you think this will play out? So far, according with the markets, nothing has changed on that side of things. So
I think the whole world sees it for what it is. It's a political shift in Korea, in South Korea, basically, where you're seeing people wanting to have their government a little bit more accountable and not having one family run the government for so long. They found a way to unseat the current president, and they're just going after people like Samsung and other big South Korean companies to basically shore up their case against the president. So I don't think he's going to be indicted for anything. I think he's probably going to get a slap on the wrist at the end of the day. It's not going to affect Samsung that much. And before you know it, I'll give it 3 months and everyone's forgotten about this.
I disagree, Sam. I think this one he might actually be made the sacrificial lamb. I think he might actually be made into the example, so that the theater of this type of law enforcement can be maintained, and that the people don't get too upset about it.
No, I see what you're saying, but I think the person who's going to really be the
president
loser here is no, not the president, but her friend. What's her name, Miss Seol, or whatever how you pronounce her name.
The one that
Choi,
was
Miss Choi,
the intermediary between all the deals.
She is the one that has been accused of receiving the bribes. And it's basically what Samsung did something that definitely was a bribe, but they were giving money to this lady's organization in hopes of influencing government officials. So they didn't give money to the government per se.
Standard fair.
Exactly. Standard.
Oh, so just American politics.
They have deniability.
So American politics.
I don't think they have enough to basically make sure that he actually answers for any bribery charges.
We'll just have to wait and see when as it plays out. But you said 3 months, so we'll see.
Yeah, 3 months.
Other Samsung news. It looks like we're going to be getting the announcement of Exynos 9. Samsung has teased that Discover Cloud 9 with Exynos. So we do know that the 835 is still going to be the chipset for America in terms of the Galaxy S8, and Exynos will be moving to Korea. Any thoughts on what you guys expect to see, or do you think it will be more in line with what Qualcomm has, just because Samsung is now fabbing both chipsets, and also there's more tying in terms of like ins and outs between both companies? Somebody can talk.
I was in the live chat. And Exynos 9 would be pretty keen. I'll throw it to you, Sam.
Exynos 9 for the win. Throwing it to you, Warren.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
All right, that says it all. I mean, I think both Exynos 9 and 835 will be closer than previous generations in terms of performance. So, that's where I'll leave it at this point. All right, let's move on.
It's because we don't get that. I've only gotten that processor here once.
Yeah.
And but I also think it's a great processor, but we'll never see it again here in the US. So
I think also just because Samsung is also making the 835s, and they entered a really the partnership between both companies for that chipset is really close. So you're going to see some of the Exynos workings in the 835 itself. And then rumor is that the LG might get the 835 after all. Do you believe them, or you think it's the 821?
I'm pretty confident on the rumors pointing to the G6. I mean, I'll be super stoked if it gets the 835, but I'm pretty confident that with the timetable and the release right now, it's more likely to get the 821.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. When's the release date for the V30? Because what I'm seeing here is saying that the V30 might get it
sometime in the fall.
V30 in the fall, yeah, definitely V30.
Yeah, so if the V30 will get it then, but if the G6, nah, I don't think so. I don't think the G6 is going to get it. But by now, they've already started fabbing or mass producing all the handsets for a release date so they can get the shipping done. You can't just change. You can't bring news like this out after everyone understands that the 821 is what you're going to get. You can't really change all those handsets in the meantime. So I think it's already too late in the game for them to make any change like that.
Okay.
I mean, unless they've been running test devices with the 821 and they had the 835 in there all the time for the main manufacturing run. But again, this is all getting really squashed. For all these companies that had a window, knowing that Samsung was going to be releasing later in the year, they've all been slow playing. All of these companies have been playing pretty conservative. So it doesn't look like that window is really going to benefit anyone. We're just going to have a later start to the smartphone season in 2017.
Yeah, I definitely agree. We're looking at resolution of the screen again is 2880 by 1440 and 3200 milliamp battery.
Someone brought this up on the Pocket Now podcast, which I thought was kind of cool. I hadn't really thought of it. When you go split screen on the G6, they're going to be perfect 1-to-1 squares. Like, that's actually kind of cool with the way that this new screen aspect ratio is working out.
Yeah, you're right. Not looking at it.
Oh, well, the split screen actually work well. Be able to split more than just one app, or the apps that are within their little LG software stuff. No one's excited for this until we see what the hell the software looks like, man.
We'll see. I mean, we'll see on Sunday, next Sunday, pretty much.
They're gonna have to do some real work there.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Let's see what's the next news. Blackberry 0% market share.
I am so surprised.
You just can't lay it out there like it's like just like a stinky fart of a headline.
Windows Phone is higher?
How? Yeah.
I'm not counting the Delta Airlines thing with that, man. Nah, they got to be around the same 0%.
Yeah,
I'll call bullets to that.
But Delta Airlines has a bunch of them.
They don't count. That's like saying there's a bunch of services out there and 90% of them are the NFL.
So again, I
no,
don't think
there are a bunch of services out there.
Yeah.
I don't think we can be too surprised with the way that BlackBerry handled their hardware game, trying to make their Android transition. The Priv was actually a pretty cool phone, though mine still has some issues even after the most recent update. The thing I'll be curious to see is if BlackBerry can, the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. I'll be really curious to see if BlackBerry can improve their situation by doing the same thing, licensing out their name, having someone else make their products. The same thing we've seen numerous other companies, even outside of the tech sphere, do. And if that's really going to make any positive net change. I have every faith in TCL. I don't think I have much faith in BlackBerry as a brand anymore.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what they do with the Mercury, because
that's what I mean. Is like I have every faith in TCL. I think the hardware is going to be good hardware. I love the Idol. I mean, what TCL has been able to do over the last couple of years, while not as exciting as ZTE or OnePlus, should still be respected. I mean, they've been building up a core group of users. They make killer hardware. They put it out at great prices. I have every expectation that the hardware on this phone will probably be good. I mean, very good to excellent. I don't know that I have faith in BlackBerry to really sell us on the idea of a BlackBerry phone. Yeah. I don't know that they can sell consumers on BlackBerry services when we've all kind of walked away from things like BBM. What can they bring to the table that's really going to make me excited to pick up a BlackBerry? I think the hardware answer is, if you like the keyboard, well, we'll bring the keyboard back. Exactly. But when you actually use the phone, what software on there is going to compel you to want to use that over the solutions you already have? Yeah.
So basically, I think from looking at the Mercury, I think it is going to be an Android phone with a large screen and a keyboard. I don't know how the form factor, just looking at this phone just kind of raises a lot of questions, but BlackBerry, like you said, really does have that whole, I guess the mindset of if you want a device with a keyboard, then chances are you're looking for a BlackBerry. But not that many people want one anymore.
Listen, they're trying to make BlackBerry great again. Let them try to make BlackBerry great again.
I did not go there. All right.
That's okay. Warren did.
Yeah, there's at 0%. They can only go up. Anything up is great.
Or
so
well, speaking of Apple being a late mover, as Juan mentioned earlier in the show, rumors are that Apple will finally have an Apple TV that does 4K. Well, this is also coming Anyway, yeah, I'll continue that one later. But what do you guys think about Apple and 4K TV output? No HDR, but just 4K TV. Any thoughts? Or the
catching up with the rest.
The consumers will be happy and be like, "Oh wow, it's great."
They'll have no idea.
Yeah, it's true.
No, I'm not going to be too upset. I mean, we were talking before we jumped on. You're on a new webcam, and it's a 4K webcam. I think what we're seeing is the market force is actually shifting over, where more consumers are starting to flip their TVs. The TV in my wife and I's bedroom just died, so we're probably going to take the nice TV in the living room, which is a really nice 1080p TV, move it there, and then go and get a 4K screen for the living room. I think we're starting to see that transition happen where. I'm getting a little tired of the people. Oh, you even shoot 4K video, you can't see all the pixels, which is wrong, but that's fine. But what we're seeing is that transition where the manufacturing costs on 4K panels has dropped substantially, and we're seeing a lot more content out there. Which, if you're not looking for 4K content, it's easy to ignore that there's a ton of it that you can consume. So when you hear that Apple's finally making the transition, that means Apple finally has faith. And because this is another thing we were talking about, Apple won't jump on something until it's someone else has invested and vetted the technology. Like they're not going to move to it first. And that they revolutionized it.
And don't forget that Apple really makes a lot of its money off the hardware by a production to cost ratio, right?
Yeah.
So basically, if Apple can produce it cheap enough for them to make a good overhead, then they'll make it. And they release it. So what it's saying is, yes, the panels have become cheap enough, but also the components to output that 4K to stream it. It's becoming cheaper as well. And also we're getting faster connections. So I think, it's a good time for them to release it. It's actually, I think it's probably a year late. Around last Christmas should have been perfect, but it's not a bad idea. It's a pretty good idea on Apple's part.
Apple also has its own original programming.
Oh yeah, they are.
They announced they had a trailer for the first one. It was Carpool Karaoke, I think, or something like that.
Was it from the late? Was it the late show or something?
Yeah, the guy from Late Show. So that's their first attempt. But everyone's doing original programming. We mentioned last week Facebook hired the guys from MTV.
Yep.
And I'm really scared about Facebook having original programming. They can really oasis that place, man. They could lock it down. Well,
that's actually going to be no, because I completely agree. I mean, we want to talk about things like net neutrality, right? Is Facebook putting out their own original content? Will we be seeing them unfairly position their content above other things that people share?
Yes.
Probably.
I love it when there really is an answer to a rhetorical question. That makes me happy.
But what really kind of to me interests me in this is I think Sony this is a pure example of Sony being so far ahead of its time when it first came out with the Blu-ray player equipped PlayStation 3, I believe, right? That was the first one, the Blu-ray player, and they had the feature where you could watch a movie with friends, right? This is exactly, you can almost tell that's what Facebook is going to do. That they're going to have this community feature around watching shows that is very similar to what Sony was proposing back then, or what Sony.
Actually, Microsoft did that. Microsoft turned down that party. They did that feature with DVDs, I think, or they did a feature through Netflix.
Oh yeah, that's true.
They did that. They did it first,
early,
actually.
Yeah,
they did it way early. No one really used it, but it was there. Yeah. Like the first big next Xbox update on the 360.
But you know what's going to be interesting with Facebook? I'm waiting to see who is the first news organization that would fully stream live news and also have a Facebook
TYT.
segment. No, TYT is not a major news network.
Wall Street Journal has an 11:30 show every day where they go live. It's like a 30-minute show. I think it's lunchtime or something where they go live.
If it's going to be if you're talking about major networks that will go live, CNN already all kind of do that through the Facebook Live feature. So,
and now I've been noticing
that becomes an actual network or actual television.
Oh no, not just a live aspect. Sorry, I meant also having that Facebook community aspect too. So whether it's one or two shows that cater more to to the community, and as well as you still have your regular live shows that just, you know, dual streaming on TV and network. Because then
I mean, according to PewDiePie, everyone hates the internet. So I don't think it's ever going to happen. Traditional media, they're always like, whatever, PewDiePie makes a lot of money. That's all we care about because we're the traditional media. So it's never going to happen.
It'll probably be...
Really? No one went with me on that? Come on.
No, sorry.
Because I didn't bother watching the apology video.
Ronald said Fox is doing Facebook Live. Kyle Ruggles says the Onion mic drop, and
it might be Verizon really trying to push a lot of their content out there. So they might be the ones that might jump on this. They've been looking for an avenue, and they've been shutting down that Go 90 stuff.
Yeah.
So this might be their way of pushing that out there. If all else fails, it'll be YouTube. YouTube puts their own content on Facebook.
But you guys, I mean,
biggest troll really ever.
Yeah, really. But that does really bring up an interesting point, though, in that, you know, we've been seeing, like, I don't know, have you guys been watching any CNN lately?
Oh, yeah.
So they've been trying to step up their game. I think they're trying. I think there's a generational shift where people at CNN, producers at CNN, have forgotten how to do real journalism, and they're trying to get back to being real journalists. Yeah. So it's an interesting transition, which I don't know will be successful, but again, I'm going to salute them for trying. But sorry, just to wrap up the idea real quick. They're trying to reach out to people, and they're still doing that BS, like, let's see what Twitter has to say about a story, as opposed to just being on the service that they're trying to talk about on traditional cable broadcast. And I think there's an opportunity there for them, for CNN Web. And CNN Web not just being clips of their TV show, actually creating or funding original investigative broadcasts for the target markets, for Twitter video, for Facebook video. Again, treating them like channels, not like repositories for the stuff that they've already belched out on traditional broadcast.
I can tell you quickly what
stuff that he bought could be something that they could push this on to, not to interrupt you.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible.
I completely agree.
But I can tell you what the thinking is. CNN and all the networks in their philosophy of how they're making. Trying to get back to real journalism. They have certain people. So like Jake Tapper, what's the other guy on Fox who basically ranted on the president? Yeah, Shep. Those are the people.
Much respect to Shep. I mean, I've always been a fan of Shep. I don't like Fox News, but he's legit.
Those are the people.
You know what's bad when they're ranting on the president.
Yeah, those are the people who they will let them.
Shep. Shep is irrational. The rest of Fox is like, Fox and Friends. The president's great. You know, like it's pretty silly.
So, but yeah, those are the people that they let do that, get as close to Dan Rathers as we'll ever get, in a sense. And then everybody else does the let's check this and let's check that. And then you have people who do the panels. So this is, I mean, after rewatching the news again lately, there's a very interesting breakdown, and then you have like it's the Jake, it's the guy at Fox, it's the Rachel Maddow, like there's a certain belt of people there.
Oh yeah, it's all pundits and infotainment. I mean, it's like what they did is they tried to rip off the Daily Show and then tried to hide behind, but we're real news. You're like, no, you're commentary, just like any other like stand-up comedian.
We need some more Anderson Coopers, and we don't really have a whole lot of those Anderson Coopers out there right now.
Well, I think really the people who were doing this right, and the people who might end up doing this right is Teen Vogue. And it's kind of weird because recently I've never paid attention to Teen Vogue until about 2 or 3 weeks ago when I saw an article there, and then I saw follow-up articles, and I'm like, these guys are doing something amazing. And then I go ahead and I'm like, who is this Elaine Welteroth, who was like the chief editor, and she's like 30. So that's what Teen Vogue is doing. They're bringing their content to be relevant to people in that age group, and that's what CNN needs to do.
And then Navarro left, right? Yeah, she did. She left CNN.
It's not about basically taking your content and trying to put it into these different outlets. It's about actually engendering the fact that you don't just create one content and spew it everywhere, but you come in with the idea that
that's exactly what I'm saying.
You are a multi distribution kind of news organization.
So basically, what TYT is doing on YouTube.
Well, not really. TYT is basically saying
they have sports, they have a politics, and they have a main channel.
TYT comes off as we are a real news organization starting from YouTube, from the web.
Yeah. Does TYT do original content for Twitter? Does TYT do original content for Snapchat?
Nah. I haven't seen a snap from them.
That's what I'm saying is so like, to have CNN FB, to have CNN TW, have CNN SC, that's what I'm saying is I think they're missing an opportunity where low cost, high impact, original content for those different platforms that then creates an organization that's spread out across the web. Because if I go to Twitter and I see a couple little news clips from CNN, what incentive do I have to go to CNN's channel if it's the same content? What incentive do I have to go to CNN's Facebook page if it's just going to be the same thing that I saw on CNN's live broadcast? Right. So that's what I'm saying. I'd like to see them diversify their portfolios of broadcast.
There's a channel that does business news on Twitter. I've forgotten the name.
Yeah, but you see, this is the problem. You're saying business news on Twitter.
But no. I'm just saying.
I would envision it, right?
No.
Go ahead, man.
What I'm trying to explain is that the way they talk about business news is for a certain generation. It's for the millennials, at 30 and younger, to say, hey, look, you guys need to start thinking about these things and not wait for your parents who have, whether they have investment bankers or whatever the case may be. This is what you need to do if you're here at this age, because all the guys there are literally in their 30s, and then maybe they might have an older analyst who has said, okay, look, just so you guys know, this has happened before, blah blah blah, that kind of thing. But that show is literally just for millennials.
And I think I've seen that show.
I just can't remember the name of the channel,
but I think it's a good thing when it's adult millennials talking to the younger millennials about something. I think it's far more attractive.
Well, I recently did larger broadcasts. Yeah, I recently did 2 broadcasts with an outlet called Cheddar, and they're a web streaming. I mean, you would maybe consider them the CNBC for millennials kind of a thing. And so I did 2 news broadcasts with them, and they broadcast from the New York Stock Exchange. So I mean, we're seeing some pockets of people.
It is Cheddar, yes.
Yeah. I get that viewpoint of. So what I'm more in talking about is if you get that business news and everything else, and that's cool, but things that aren't sexy on TV, like talking about FCC rules, you don't see that on TV per se. But if you put this in a distribution or in an outlet like YouTube, where people actually on YouTube and the content creators of YouTube actually care about this thing, you can push certain topics a lot farther than they would go on being on traditional media. So,
but that's what YouTube is essentially supply. It's essentially providing, and already in that regard. So, but Facebook's biggest thing would have to be, because they're competing with YouTube in this in a way, but they'd have to spin it a different way.
To make it work. We're talking about just Facebook doing. We're talking about the media outlets doing this,
using these outlets.
Using them. I mean,
let's use Cheddar as an example. Cheddar,
but I'm saying.
So Cheddar has a web streaming platform, right? You go to cheddar.tv and you can fire up that live broadcast. But
I've seen them on Twitter. That's why I saw it.
And they share little clips on Twitter, and then you can watch some of their backlogs. But then if you want to kind of expand on that, you need to subscribe to the Cheddar service. How is that any different than just having an extra channel in your cable package?
Yep.
It's not. It's the same thing. And the same thing, they're not creating original content for Facebook. They're not creating original content for Twitter. They're cutting up their broadcast and then serving it to these other outlets. So their hook is, you have to watch us just like TV, which millennials love. Millennials love having to watch things at certain times, like going to the TV and sitting down and watching the TV at that time and not shifting when or where they consume media. That's what millennials are all about. So what I'm saying is, why doesn't CNN have a small team of super hardcore investigative reporters that are like Vice, and their content only goes up on Facebook? That's what I'm saying is that's the opportunity they're missing.
I'm just going to say this. I officially binge on Vice News. I'm binging on it for
and Vice is not unique. Vice is just, old school, hard hitting. We're going to spend a month investigating this story, investigative reporting. So you're not reinventing the wheel there. This is like Woodward and Bernstein, we're just going back to the source. But the only thing that's novel is that they're younger and they're putting it on the internet
and they're covering things. They're covering things that generally you don't see on American network TV, because a lot of their coverage are also very international. Right. Exactly. So it's content that might not air on the regular big distribution, like the CNN, the CNN What the CNN? What they call not international? I guess you just call it CNN headline news or something. Their major distribution on cable, something that might not air on there, but you see it on a Vice and you see it on an app on HBO Go, and you're like, okay, I'm going to watch 30 minutes of this, an hour of this, an hour and a half of this. You know,
all that gets determined by the dollars and cents, and that's the way these things work. If they can make money in some way of doing that, they'll push it towards it. If something else is making money that pays for these other things to sort of happen, then they'll push towards it.
No, it's true on the dollar and cents, but like to Juan's point, you make a small team, and if you look, the thing about it is that even Facebook has told you the audience is international. It's not just the US. You can skew the way where your news comes from and still focus mainly in the US. Yes, but when you have if you're going to an online audience, whether it's going to be on Twitter, Facebook, Facebook or YouTube, it's an international audience. So that's a perfect way of you now reintroducing them back into CNN or Fox or whichever network that wants to do it, so that they can now go, oh wow, okay, so this is what I like what they're doing. It's a little different, but it's still the same thing. You're still pushing out news, and you're using a smaller team to do it. You're just paying now. Facebook is just handling the framework for you. You don't have to do that. It's just the team does their live streams or their videos, and it's uploaded on Facebook. Done.
And just to bring it to the here and now, and not to get political, so let's not jump too far into this. If you look at something like the travel restrictions that were happening a few weeks ago, this is something that affected Americans less than it affected immigrants to the United States, people all over the world. So this is something they should have used a social network to push a lot more than they did. Yes, you found little clips here of news on those social networks, but social network should have been the main distribution outlets for all those kind of news, because it affects everyone else in the world rather than people in the United States.
Yeah, the immediacy of breaking a story on Twitter and then reporting on that story on Twitter would have been amazing synergy for that commentary.
Yeah. And again, in our usual fashion, we've provided more business ideas for people who are not paying us.
Hey, but you know what?
Breaks, man.
But you know what? Eventually, they would want us to chime in, because I think we have good point of views, very diverse point of views.
Yeah, I have one for Microsoft, which I'm not going to state. I'm going to sell it to them. Anyway, guys, that is pretty much it in terms of topics. Even though we started late, we still are sort of on time-ish. So we've gotten to that point of the show where we tell you what we have on our channels currently and what we can expect next week. And I'll start off with Mr. Warren Bowman.
Hold on, I'm in the live chat.
Okay, fine. Okay, how about you, Juan? Do you want to start off?
Yeah, so last week we did a couple editorial videos. We were looking at LG G6 rumors. A lot of people were asking about the DAC again on the G6. So we did another video talking about headphone fidelity and what LG could bring to the table for the G6. Some interesting questions is whether or not people are looking at certain compromises. If you listen to a lot of music on your phone, maybe the Qualcomm 821 isn't a deal breaker. And then next week I'm going to be flying out a little early to meet up with the rest of the sort of the international Pocket Now team, so we can kind of get our game plan in place for MWC. So my channels are going to be a little quiet. I had one more video. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to finish cutting it up before I take off next week. But that's what we're looking at.
Cool. Warren?
Hold on. Come back to me.
Sam.
So yeah, remember that fitness band by Huawei? It's on my desk right now with a camera right in front of it. So that's one of the things I'm working on. But the other thing, which I was saying, I was going to try to take it out of the case. I did take it out of the case. It's here.
You showed us the box.
I took it out of the other.
Are you doing a review of the box?
No, I actually took it out of the other box. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to use this over the holiday weekend and try to get something out on Monday. The whole idea for this is I might actually make it a comparison between what this is versus what's, where's the other stuff? Versus what this is. Same company, different products. It'll be good to compare and contrast exactly what the company has put out there.
All right, cool. Warren?
Okay, I'm hijacking this with my final thoughts again. That's what I did last week. I'm going to do this week.
I should have known.
No. Keep doing this. So, I keep losing my train of thought. It's like a bit of a headache here. My final thoughts are the unlimited plans and how we eventually came full circle back to the fact that Verizon and many others were wrong in saying that, trying to spin that, well, you're overpaying for data that you're not using. How can you overpay for data that you're not using if the data is unlimited? Was like, didn't make any logical sense to me at all. But some reason that these carriers seem to think that. But it was really nice to see a company like Verizon get literally checked.
Yep.
And had to eat it. And it's interesting because they knew they had to, because look at the way they rolled out how they mentioned unlimited plan. They put a lot of advertising behind it. They even in the announcement to the press and the media, it wasn't just some press release they released out. They did a full video talking about it, why they did it, why our network is this way, and went and jumped to different clips of different people involved with it. It is the biggest eat and crow moment that they had, and they were trying to essentially save face by not doing it, and put out a plan that they probably didn't want to put out the price they put at, because $80 is relatively cheap for their network, and they know that. But it's going to bring back subscribers, I think.
Oh, it's going to win me back.
Might win me back, because it's going to win people back to like, oh yeah, Verizon has that strong network, and now I'm not overpaying for that network compared to the competition out there that now it's still cheaper, but not that much cheaper against them, because it was kind of the truth that, outside of maybe even Sprint, maybe not the best, but even still, all these networks were pretty much on pace with where Verizon was. Verizon was better, but all of them had caught up within a few percentage points here and there of it. So they couldn't sit there and ride the high horse that they rode for, probably 10 years or so, saying that they were the best network out there. They were the first with 4G LTE. All that's out the window now. Now they have to sit here and compete. They put out probably the best unlimited plan with the clearest details on it, way better than T-Mobile did, and way better than Sprint did in terms of when they released it out there. And I give them the credit in that they went and checked T-Mobile, and they went and checked Sprint and said, all right, we're going to give these people truly unlimited data. We're going to allow HD video. We're going to allow all these things. We're going to tell you what our data cap is in terms of, if you go over this, what it's going to be, and we're going to be clear on our fine print. That's probably the one thing I will congratulate them for doing, because that made everyone else have to do the same thing.
Because all of a sudden it looks as though they realize that they're in the business of customer service.
Yeah, they're realizing what T-Mobile already said is that we're an mobile internet service provider, and Verizon's pushing themselves into being into that same space as well too. So that's sort of my thoughts on that whole thing. And now we can move on to whatever he's going to say.
All right, final thoughts from Warren, and thank you very much. Well, on my end, I'm just going to tell you exactly what we have on the channel. Audio and PCs. We've got 2 audio reviews, a desktop speaker. Daniel did that review, and I also did the review of the Sennheiser 630 VB. Those are bass lover headphones. Really good stuff. And then on the PC side, we did finally dropped our X99 build. It's a $1,500 X99 build, which is actually really cheap for X99. And Lex dropped a review of the Acer Chromebook. We all know he loves Chromebooks. so
sorry, we give him too much crap for liking Chromebooks.
So that HTC event is legendary.
That
HTC event is so legendary for what happened.
So that's up there. In terms of next week, we are not going to MWC this year, so all coverage would be linked to Mr. Juan Bagnell and Pocket Now. But we will have some coverage next week for you guys. And I am trying to work on something for 5G to give you guys a good 5G explanation. We might do it on the show. We might just do a separate video. I don't know yet, but I'll see and let you guys know. Just because after sitting down and hearing about 5G, it's not as straightforward as I thought.
Yeah, you really have to know what the lanes and the layers and every other stuff.
4G LTE isn't straightforward either if you actually read up on it. If you actually read what LTE is about, oh my God, it is
trust
beyond a maze of technology. It sounds like you're going backwards, but you're actually going forward.
5G on top of that is like you take that 4G LTE and then you put this bigger, wider, and you're like,
Well, it's of course the way it is more let's make it this way.
Well, I know they started creating new layers. Essentially, they made new layers for it because 4G LTE really wasn't new layers per se.
It was just widening. It's basically widening the lane. So you're basically taking a 2-lane highway, turning into a 4-lane highway. With a 5G, it's basically they turn into a 4-lane highway with different layers on that highway. So it's more like you have a
California highways.
Exactly, like 4 layers of highway, and all of them are like 4-lane highways.
I love how Juan is just like, yeah, I already know this. I live in Cali anyway.
Listen, because people seeing the highways in California the way they look, it's like, oh my God, there's space.
Yeah, that's yeah. No, I was gonna say
you have no idea how amazing.
The 405 is a great visual metaphor for where we're at with LTE, and we need to build like a double decker now. And so I
understand it's traffic, but this is space.
Yeah, so that will be coming soon. I don't know yet. I'll let you guys know exactly when that chimes in. But want to say thank you very much for listening and watching the show. We have our podcast on Google Play. So if you want to catch up, you can go ahead and use the link down below and sign up, and you will get, of course, notifications for the podcast. Definitely subscribe to each and every one of the channels. You can check out Mr. Juan Bagnell at Pocket now. Also, you can follow him on Twitter. It is Some Gadget Guy on Twitter. You can catch him there. And he also has his own channel, Some Gadget Guy, on YouTube.
Oh, and just if you'll pardon the shout, somegadgetguy.com. I'm working with TK Bay, the gentleman who's been doing some XDA stuff. So on somegadgetguy.com, you're going to be seeing some of his videos shared there too.
All right, cool. And of course, Mr. Warren Bowman from BW1.com. Check out his videos there. Follow him on Twitter. It's also BW1.com. And Mr. Sam, aka Black Iron _man, is his Twitter handle. And of course, his videos, whenever they eventually show up, are on Board at Work. And
I feel a little sick now. Niggas might not get out.
That's what happens every week.
I feel sick at Moloko. Check into Moloko.
No, Moloko is his thing. Just let it go.
Or raise down your way.
The raise is my way.
Yeah. See what happens. This is why I don't get videos from him. And then, of course, it's Thunder E Booredatwork on YouTube as well as Twitter. Thank you very much, guys, and enjoy your entertainment.